Welcome, my financially intentional people. I'm so honored to have LaVaisha Davis join us. She's going to talk to us about setting up family offices. And if you don't know what that is, you are not rare. It's not a lot of people that know what family offices are, how to use them. And it's typically something that is a little bit gatekept in our community. So I'm super excited to have LaVaisha here to talk to us about it. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's just start with your background. How did you get into the finance space?
Yes. So I'm here more by way of experience. So I am founder and managing partner of LWest Advisors, and it's a wealth management firm that does help form fractional family offices for entrepreneurs. And I got there through two ways, through tragedy and through experience. Experience is because my husband and I have been entrepreneurs for quite some time, way before it was trendy. And we just had those lessons that we had to learn the hard way through entrepreneurship. And it was a kind of an eye opener as we moved through that journey that we were clearly doing things incorrectly. So in an effort to correct that, I was like, okay, I have to learn the money side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Learning about profit and loss statements and cash flow and income statements and just the internal workings of a business financially. But when I coupled that with a tragic experience in my family, we lost my only brother. And when he passed away, it was devastating for two reasons. One, my mother lost her only son, and she had to go right back to work after that because she literally couldn't afford to grieve. And then he also didn't have his affairs in order. So we didn't have the proper resources to bury him. So I had two light bulb moments in a short period of time between our entrepreneur journey and then even through a reflection of our family that not only did we not have the resources individually, but even collectively to come together in this challenging time. And it was just like from there, it was like, okay, we have to make some even more serious choices. So that's why I coined the term. I hope we talk about family CEO today, because somebody has to step up to that plate when they make that recognition and make some drastic changes. And that's what led to me pursuing certain licenses in education to become a financial professional and applying those principles, not just to myself and my family, but to the clients that we serve to this day.
So before you became a financial professional, what kind of entrepreneurship were you doing? What kind of business did you have?
Yeah, so we had a staffing company. So it was in technology, and we did that for about 5 years. Our original business that we started was a cleaning company. Mm-hmm. That was the very first one. And we sold that company incorrectly. By not an ad, but we sold that one and we got into staffing. That's where we really got more of our entrepreneur experience, where we was able to structure a successful company and really seeing the outcome, the fruits of our labor. Mm-hmm. The cleaning company was just like a major learning. Like we just used that just for learning. It was really just that. But staffing, and then we transitioned into just buying and selling companies after that because it was more attractive for us. We would find a solution or find where we bring value. And we found it better to do that in distressed companies than just starting them from scratch every time.
I love that. I love that failing forward. Like you didn't let that defeat of the cleaning company. Like a lot of people would be wiped out. I'm out the game, but you guys used that experience and was able to turn that into, sounds like buying and selling multiple businesses, which is great because those lessons that you learn just through the experience, like you said, way more valuable than anything you can get through a finance degree, through an MBA, because it's like lived lessons learned and you take those experiences and you grow from them. So I love that journey.
100%.
Yeah, I love that journey. So then you was just like, I got to figure out this money thing. It's too much going on personally and professionally for me to not get this right. And I love that you took the route to get the education and the licenses in order to start your own wealth firm. So what did that educational journey look like for you?
Yeah, so I started with the path of insurance. Mm-hmm. One thing I try to encourage when I talk about a family CEO is there is one of three ways that you can become that. And the first way, I always tell people to find what fits them best, but the one way is from my own personal experience. So I started through insurance with the insurance license. I perfected that product again from my personal experience of the loss of my brother. But through that perfection, I can use it as an advanced planning tool rather than just death benefit coverage, using it for different tax strategies, using it for different ways to accumulate capital, using it for different leveraging opportunities. So as I mastered that, I became a part of other strategic planning teams. Mm-hmm. And it was there that I learned, okay, there is a group of coordinated professionals that's servicing one particular individual or one particular family that's really helping them elevate their financials. It's not a one-man show. And through that, thankfully, I was also working with people that weren't gatekeepers and showed me this way in this concept of a family office. Mm-hmm. Another thing I noticed was typically the clients that we were serving all had the same last name or some variation of, whether it's hyphenated or something like that. So in there, it was like, okay, this is the missing ingredient to our inability in our community to really build multi-generational wealth. It's not the income. We found we make a lot of money now, actually. We're actually more insured now than we were before. So it's not always the income or the lack of taking action. It's the planning and the people behind the planning and their expertise. Mm-hmm. So learning that, it was like, okay, now I have to pivot. And for some reason, God decided to put it on my heart that this is my purpose, is to help people realize that they can make a change without the tragedy. We don't need the tragedy to trigger that change. We just need to take further action.
Exactly. That's the missing step. But a lot of people just don't know what to do. We live in an age where there's so much information out there. You have like, it's overwhelming. So people just don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. And there's just people are like paralyzed. People are really, really stuck. Yes, so yeah,
right.
Analysis paralysis. That's it. That's exactly the words I was looking for. Is analysis paralysis, and it's not for the lack of resources. Like, we have access to so many resources right now. It's just people are just like, how do I know I'm not getting scammed?
Oh gosh, that's so unfortunate. And that's what I wanted to, add the second piece to the licensing, that there's other series licenses that can be pursued that can really give you tools and access to be able to move through that, where you don't feel overwhelmed by information. You can sort and apply because you know how to do it properly. You have the knowledge and the insight. You may not have the experience. That's why you may rely on other professionals. But when we talk about becoming that family CEO, you can either become it through your own journey of getting those licenses, even if it's just to serve your family. You can do it to create it. Maybe you may not have the time to go do that, but if you have a teenage son or daughter or a sibling or someone within your family that does have the capacity from time and comprehension, hey, you go do it for us. Mm-hmm. Or the third option is just to maybe outsource it. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. We just have to incorporate more counsel in our planning. We tend to think that we can do it by ourselves.
Yeah, we think we can do everything by ourselves, especially as women. We can do it all. But talk to us about what specifically is a family office.
Yeah, so a family office, what I like to describe it as, is like your wealth command center. And it is the area in which all of your wealth components run through, whether that's the income, how do you plan for the taxes appropriately? Or if it's about growing that income, okay, how can we invest to meet our long-term financial needs? Or if it's about, now we have excess income, because to whom much is given, much is expected. How do we plan out our philanthropy efforts? All of that is happening in one space from each individual professional perspective. You got investment advisors, you have estate planning attorneys, you have tax advisors or tax attorneys. You have all of these different professionals that is giving their input to make sure this plan runs smoothly. Mm-hmm. And it's not interrupted with disruption, political changes, economic changes, anything that can make it sway left or right. I'm like, no, we're going to keep the wealth right here, and we're going to make sure it stays in this family no matter what happens around the family. And that's what the family office is literally focused on.
Yeah, that's amazing. I like that because I know a lot of people have components of those things. They have a piece here, they have a piece there. And then if something happens to them, right, then you're like scattered, try to find like, where is this? Okay, I know they have a will somewhere. Where is that at? And like, I know they have this life insurance policy. Where is that at? So how do people structure that? Like, how do they get their family office if there's not something that they want to get the licenses for? Like, yes. What would that look like?
So what you just described is what we call fragmented planning. Like each individual professional is in their own world, their own area, communicating with the wealth creator, the person, and they never communicate with each other. Mm-hmm. When it comes down to organizing a family office, it's really about opening those lines of communication between those professionals. If you don't want to take the route of getting your own licenses, it may be challenging to manage those professionals. You know, think about when we say CEO, what their job is. They're not really the sales team or the account management team or the client relations team. That's not what they do, but they oversee the leaders in those departments. So the licenses help you communicate with those people. But if you have challenges where I don't want to do that because it sounds like Charlie Brown, wah, 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 then now you can outsource that or co-CEO that, where you do have a professional who knows all of those languages and coordinates all of that planning and communicates it to you. Mm-hmm. So that's called a fractional family office, because it may not have the full embodiment, but it manages a piece. It manages my investments, or it manages my estate plans, things like that. And piece it together. But the key is opening up the line of communication where everybody is all on the same page and working congruently and not in conflict, because that happens a lot.
Yeah, you got one person telling you this and a lawyer is telling you that. And yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. More it really, and then it just creates these big gaps. And you're like, okay, I didn't know that I couldn't put my real estate in an S corp. All my tax people do is tell me to put an S corp because it reduces a certain tax, but I have real estate and I can't put it in an S corp. So nobody kind of talks like that. Mm-hmm. So it just creates these sometimes a little bit more chaos than we would like.
Yeah. But okay, so how do you go about helping people set up?
How we go about helping them set it up is one, through an assessment. Everybody is not the same. So we have to complete an assessment of one, your current financial position and the professionals that's serving you. Like, you might already be engaging with them, but just not to the level that you need to. So you may just need to pull them in a little closer. Mm-hmm. Through that assessment, if we find that these gaps are just too big and the professionals who have been providing you that service, you may have outgrown them, like they can't meet your needs no more, then we may need to bring in some other ones. So we source those professionals like, hey, we need to level up a little bit on the CPA who's used to dealing with someone doing 10 million versus someone who's only doing $1 million. Maybe there's differences in that. So we do that wealth assessment, identify those gaps, coordinate the professionals, and then we build the investment plan around that, because that's what all the planning is always around. Most people think it's just around their income, mm-hmm. but you really need a plan around your investments because they play out in different ways. So those are just a few things that we do to get started with coordinating with that fractional family office.
Yeah, I love that. And the thing is, everybody's situation is different. So you got to meet people where they're at, gather that information, and then either you're going to bring in whatever pieces they have and then supplement your pieces, or you're going to be like, no, this is a team that we got to put together for you to manage these things.
Absolutely.
Is there a minimum amount of assets somebody needs to have?
There is, if you want to immediately go into the investment side. Mm-hmm. But we also work with building that up. We call that the wealth creator phase, where you may not have the investments just yet. So we work there. So it's not necessarily an amount of assets for that level. There is an amount of income. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to allocate towards investments. So that's around $250,000 taxable income, like what you actually take home for business owners. Mm-hmm. Start taking that amount home. Then we get into something called wealth management, where there you do have to have about 500,000 in investable assets, because now we can come right in from the investment side. We create something called an investment policy statement.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't have that either. They get this shiny object syndrome, where every presentation looks good. Like every rate of return that you say I can get, it looks good. There's no parameters. Your investment policy statement creates these parameters of how you want to invest and what we're aiming for. But then you get into the wealth preservation mode. That is a little different, because that's usually when you come into a major liquidity event or some type of abundance of cash, like you sold a business, won a lottery, got an inheritance, which is a little bit more challenging to do or to receive than it is to create wealth. When you just get something thrown on you, what is this? Like, so there's phases to it. So all the minimum asset level doesn't apply to each phase.
Okay. But you mostly work with entrepreneurs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. But not to negate our working professionals, because they're just as we service them as well. Entrepreneurs just tend to benefit from our service a lot more because of their natural all over the place mentality. It's like sometimes a C-suite executive or something like that, they can manage their family office pretty well. An entrepreneur, their mind's always going. They're always looking for things, and they are trying to get some of their time and energy back.
Mm-hmm.
From being on the go. But it's not that we don't serve other people. It's just about 80% of our client base is entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And then also entrepreneurs don't have like access to like 401ks and all those kind of things that people typically use. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like typically if somebody wanted to work with you, like what is the pre-work that's usually involved in understanding if you guys can work together?
So back to that wealth assessment, we have a very detailed questionnaire that collects everything we need to know. And it takes us about a month to even complete that assessment, because we're evaluating everything. The three major structures: your legal structure, which pertains to your asset protection or your risk management; the tax structure, because if not, you'll end up paying 40% of your wealth to taxes if we're not careful; and your financial structure, kind of what vehicles we're using right now to even grow our money, and are they going to achieve that income that you think you're going to get one day? Because the other thing about business owners, our businesses won't write us a paycheck forever. Mm-hmm. There comes a time where you got to think about what's next.
Yeah.
When we evaluate those three structures, we dive deep into each one of those and make clear recommendations. So that's the first step in the pre-work that we need to know for us to work together. And it gives you clarity too. It lets you know where you stand financially in all three of those structures, what your biggest gaps are, and how you can fill them. So you can choose to take that back to your wealth team that you already work with, because maybe they're just fragmented and they need to see it all in one piece. Or you can choose to move forward and work with us, and we bring it together in one piece, and again, build the investment plan around that.
Yeah, I like that. I was going to ask you, like, if you are working with someone and do that assessment and you find that they're not a good fit, they're almost there. Do you give them resources and tools so they can get to that level so that they can either do it on their side or work with you to do it? And you answered that question, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. What do you feel like are the biggest reasons why people just don't do it?
Fear, trauma, especially in our community, hey, what goes on over here stays over here. You don't like, so the fear of entrusting someone and the trauma with possibly trusting someone are the two biggest obstacles. And that's for individuals. When we think about family wealth, with some of the most prominent ones that we know, Waltons or Doles or some of these other prominent families, it's because it's like, how do I work with my family? I can't even do that. I don't even like my sister right now. I'm not talking to her right now. So the family conflict kind of prevents us from moving collectively. And it really holds us back from being one of those prominent families. Like, we all have that opportunity for our name to be said in conjunction with long-term wealth. Like how we say these names every day when we say Porsche or Johnson & Johnson, and we all have that possibility. But because the fear and the trauma, we typically just don't. And then I think people ask themselves out because they automatically think they can't afford it. Automatic. I can't afford that. I got to have a lot of money for that. When just like everything else is advancing, technology can reduce costs significantly. Building it out fractionally, one piece at a time, can reduce costs significantly. So before you just assume, really just try to take the proper steps to see and assess, and then you can make a decision for yourself once you have all the information.
How do you know who is like family? Because like you were saying, are you talking about like just your immediate family? Are you talking about we going all the way from every surviving member in our family and we're including them in this plan?
It's by choice. I always say that your blood family is your God-given team to build wealth. It's natural. However, if that comes in a different form, I like to use LeBron James as an example because I'm sure he does it for his immediate family, but he's extended that family out to those that he played basketball with growing up and gave them prominent roles in his empire. They're building wealth collectively. So it doesn't have to be by blood affinity. It could be by whoever you're doing life with.
Mm-hmm.
If it's you and your spouse and your kids you want to start with, bet. If it's you and your sister you want to start with, bet. If it's like, hey, no, we got parents we need to think about as well. It's really about, are we building this to last for multiple generations, or are we just looking for independent financial security?
Mm-hmm.
Very distinct, two different paths, two very different paths, I should say, and who you should include and how to go about it.
Yeah, that is true. I'm heavily in financial independence space, and it's really about maybe you and your kids, and then it don't extend too much further than that. But I think like a lot of the gaps that it's missing is that what happens when something happens to your parents and then you have to be that person that they depend on. What happens to your own long-term care planning? A lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people don't know how to successfully transfer wealth to the next generation and what that will look like and what stipulations need to be in place, even if they do have a will and a trust, like actually what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You are absolutely correct about if we have to take the responsibility of our parents. It's not about if, it's really about when.
When, yeah, exactly.
The circle of life tells us that there's going to come a time that we're going to have to take care of our parents. And millennials especially are in this position where our parents didn't have all of the necessary resources to build their own financial future. They did what they could and what they had access to. But now millennial dollars are split in what I say 3 different time zones. It's split between the past, helping our parents. It's split with us presently, trying to take care of our own expenses, lifestyle, and our own saving needs. And then we have children, and it's split between the future and trying to accommodate where they don't end up in the position that we were in. And that becomes a overwhelming position where people just throw it away altogether. Listen, I'm just going to move this thing day by day instead of plan for it. So that's where the danger zone happens, because now we're just one disability, one divorce, one bad debt away from blowing it for everybody. Mm-hmm. And it's just like trying to get a rein on that can seem hard, but I'm telling you guys, with intent, that's why like financially intentional, like with intent, it can be done. Yeah. You just have to be intentional about it.
Typically from start to finish, how long does it take to build out a really comprehensive like plan?
That depends on how deep we coming from. Yeah. How much of a mess are we cleaning up here? Because if we do it properly, where people don't wait too long, it could be about 6 months. But if people go long periods of time without looking at it comprehensively, it could take about a year or more potentially. And then it also depends on who, like how many family members are we including in this? And now we got a whole nother convincing campaign we need to go on to get them out. So that may add some time. But the foundational parts, anywhere from 6 months to a year.
Okay. And what, like, in your experience, when you try to extend out like that family thing, what are people's reluctances to get on board? What are they?
I don't want them in my business. I don't want them in my business.
Yeah, money is so taboo, like everybody. Yeah.
So here's the picture I try to paint for that. I get it. But we have to include, in order for this, if we're talking about multi-generational wealth, because that's the trending topic, right? Generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't want them in your business, but we have to create some type of continuity and some type of cohesion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't have to get into each other's business to know each other's principles and values and what's important to us. Then when it gets to the financial part, there's somebody in your business already. If you are contributing to a 401k, this is literally the makeup. That's just a separate legal structure. Like 401ks are just trusts that's managed by a third party
Mm-hmm.
to grow investments to meet your income needs in the future.
Mm-hmm.
A family can do that the same way. They can set up their own separate legal structure that they each contribute to, that's managed by a third party to grow investments that can meet their own individual income needs. Do those income needs or other financial needs or legacy goals that they have, do they need to be shared amongst each other? They don't have to be, but it's better to be, so that cohesiveness and that continuity can exist. But it's not required. We just need everybody doesn't have to be in your business. We just have to be in the business of working together.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And it can be that simple, or we can make it extremely complex. The planning is complex enough. Like, let's just make it easy for ourselves. But I understand those reluctancies. I've been there myself in my own personal family.
So when you're talking about like a vehicle that you can build like in a family that replicates like what a 401k does, how specifically are they structured?
That's going to be on a case-by-case basis on what they're specifically structured as. But even if you wanted to do it at the state level, which is like an LLC or a limited liability company or a special purpose vehicle, where there is someone that's like a general partner and then family members are limited partners.
Uh-huh.
That's one legal structure, and you contribute and then you deploy as a collective into investments. Because my $5,000 to be invested may be different than the $100,000 that we can come up with between the 10 of us.
Uh-huh.
That can go into a totally different type of investment than just my $5,000. So the legal structure can be one of those, or it can go at the estate level, like a trust, where now you create a trust whose sole purpose is to contribute to it. And the investments are there to grow for the beneficiaries and whoever you choose those beneficiaries to be. So there's just a couple of ways.
Yeah, but where do those investments go? Do they go into a brokerage? Do they go into an insurance product? Like, where collectively do those investments go? Like, how are they invested?
Oh, that's a great question. So now we're getting into the creation of a portfolio. And that's why we want to, when I use this word, it scares people because it means something different in our community.
Okay.
That's why we really want to institutionalize our family. When we think of institutionalize,
it means a whole different thing.
It's a whole different meaning. Yeah. But what we mean by institutionalized means that larger institutions have a specific portfolio style that they follow. It's a diversity. It's a diversification of it. So it's not that it goes in one particular place, at least not at that time, maybe at that moment because of the amount of money it's starting out with. But the goal is to grow a portfolio that can go into some public equities. That's like the stock market, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. There may be some insurance in there, again, to mitigate risk, because the best form of capital is going to come from when a life insurance policy pays out. So it may go into life insurance or some type of insurance product. But one thing that, or one area or one asset class or multiple asset classes that really create wealth that we don't get to take a lot of advantage of is private market investments. There's other qualifying factors that you have to get into. And the limited access to those investments limits our growth potential. So when I talk about private markets, that's where we get into like private equity, or we get into like private credit, or we get into commodities like oil and gas or collectibles, or all of these other different forms of asset classes that we can put money into that can get a huge rate of return. So it may not go into one particular place. When you say, where do they go? We have to create that investment policy statement. What are we trying to achieve? What rate of return do we need to achieve that? And then we go find the investments that's going to produce that rate of return.
In that process, do you help people become accredited investors? Because oftentimes for those things, you need to be accredited.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's what we mean by the wealth creator
Yeah.
status. That's what we have to build you up to that point in order to really create that financial security for multiple people. Now, for yourself, when it's just you individually, you can achieve great success with just the stock market. But when we are doing it for a group of people, the more collective you have, that's what institutions do. The more money you have, the less return you need, the less risk you can take.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to get to those qualifying factors like accredited investor.
Mm-hmm. And then when you do that, like, not everybody that's in this family needs to be an accredited investor. Like, it's just, do you just assign whoever's that in that CEO role, like, to get the accreditation, and then the investments fall under them, or how does that work?
With that's getting a little bit more specific, where you do want multiple people to be accredited investors.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Even in the underlying, like, the goal is, how do we increase the net worth of each individual in order to become accredited investor? That's what you definitely want to strive for.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just so like we can understand a real example of how this looks. How did you set this up for your family? I know you got the licenses, but I want to know like how you structured it and what things you have in place for your family now.
Yeah, so we have a number of trust structures at the estate level, and then we have a number of LLCs at the state level. One thing we started with is, through our portfolio, we employ a lot of family members.
Mm.
So rather than that capital leave outside of our family, we circulate it. For example, not even to make it too complicated, I'm a mother of 4 daughters, traveling and doing all of these things that can pull me away sometimes, meaning I need someone to take care of my children.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that to be a stranger. And my mother has been a caregiver for over 30 years. So if I already have to spend that money, I might as well give it to my mother. So we hired my mother, and then she became our caregiver, and now that income goes to her. And because a lot of the expenses are covered, her income now gets to flow into her retirement plan that she didn't have before. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of funding herself. So the first thing we did was find means of income sources for everyone and where that needed to come from. And then at the trust level, we make sure everybody is properly insured. We don't own individual policies. Our trust owns the policies on multiple family members. Mm. And who they choose is important, or if they have their own individual trust, that's where the beneficiaries go. But this just allows for us to, the whole thing is about circulating money. That's where we started. That's what I want to make clear. Mm-hmm. It's very helpful for a family if you can circulate income, circulate money within it first, that it's easier to accumulate money to go to the next level. So that's where we put our main focus at. Hey, we know we need people in certain areas of our lives anyway. Let me find who has these strengths within our family, fill those first, circulate that capital that way, help them build plans that they can contribute to internally and externally, and just build from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So you started with your mom, but then you just have all these things. What other things do you guys have in place for your family?
So my sisters have very critical roles too. When I tell this story, I hope they don't get mad at me. They call me boss baby already. I'm the youngest of the 4.
Oh, wow. But wait, you have 4 sisters and then you have 4 daughters?
I have 2 sisters and I have 1 brother.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay, okay.
So I'm the youngest of 4.
Oh, okay.
But they each have it. When I say strengths, I mean, don't try to impose on your family things that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that causes conflict. Like, you have to find what they're really, really great at. One of my sisters is great at, she just loves to talk to people. That's her thing. Like, she could just make anybody feel great. Mm-hmm. So in our, like, anything that revolves around a customer service role automatically goes to her, and she does the training for it. She does all of that for it because that's just what she does. My oldest sister was absolutely amazing at staging homes. Like, she just, not staging, that's what we moved her to, but just arranging furniture, decorating. She didn't want to do it for a living though. Like, she didn't want to do that. She just did everything else. So when we got into real estate, that was her primary role. Make it look pretty. Like, you make it look pretty. You make sure you handle the customer service on the side. Like, it was those type of things. I just really want to encourage people to work within the strengths of your family. My father has been I almost said contractor, and that's not right. A tradesman, I should say, all of his life. He's always done renovation work. He's always done landscaping, those type of things. So that fits in more into our real estate portfolio as well. So anytime those jobs need to go out, they're going to them first.
Yes.
They are going to them first. That's income that they can generate that we can circulate back. So even if it's building a family, what do we call a vertical business model?
Mm-hmm.
If you are in real estate and you know you need plumbing, or you know you need a general contractor, or you know you need someone that's going to clean the properties, how can a family member start their own business in that sector while supplying you a service? That's just building the family business value. So that's what we've always done. And then they can still use that to go make money outside of us as well.
So as your girls grow up, like, how are they incorporated into the structure?
So this may be another thing that people may question with me. So the other thing about multi-generational wealth and the intent, the freedom of choice is not as prevalent. It's not as...
You're not gonna let them go out there and be artists. In other words, they're not gonna get a basket weaving degree. Yeah,
it's just a little intent behind it. So what we've done with our daughters is clearly list out what our family is missing. If your family is missing political power or legal power or financial power, because if your family's missing that, you have to be intentional about creating it. So you can do whatever you want to do just from this list.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we need. So each one of our daughters they was able to pick from a list. Now they may change. I'm expecting that, but it's still going to be within the list. Right now, they're just like our natural underwriters. When we have investment opportunities, we run it by them because kids have this very unique ability to ask hard questions.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't have any filter. So they're asking all the hard stuff. So we tell them when we have an investment opportunity and they ask us all the questions. And if we don't have an answer, we know we need to take that back. Oh, you know what?
Let me find that out.
Right now, there are underwriters, but they all each have a path that we're hoping that they take. But even if it diverts, it's only diverted in a number of choices.
For context, how old are your girls?
They are 13, 11, 8, and 6.
Love it. Love it. Love
yes.
it.
And the 6-year-old say, I'm just going to run everything, mommy. I'm just going to do what you do. That's what my 6-year-old tells me.
I have a 6-year-old and I can agree. And I have all girls too. So I think that's sweet. I have 3. 3.
You feel Mom, you feel me.
I know. Yes.
Yes. How old are your daughters?
They're 11, 6, and 1.
Oh, yes. So you right in the thick of things right along with me.
Oh, yes, honey. I haven't gotten to the teenagers yet.
I'll pray for you. Pray for me too and my husband.
Exactly. Most definitely. For entrepreneurs that know that they need this but don't know how to access it, how do they set this up for themselves?
Yeah. So if you are looking for a way to outsource, if you want to be the co-CEO, that's where we come in at as LOS advisors. And there is a number of ways that you could do that. So you can go directly. I utilize my own personal platform for this. So you can go to LaVaishaDavis.com. And it is there that you'll be able to either schedule a time, you'll be able to directly schedule a time if that's something that you're seeking. But if you want more of a outline of how to become that family CEO, even before you outsource it, we have a community of other individuals that's advancing themselves to be the family CEO. And you can just go to mywealthandlegacy.com. There's an ebook, of course, but there's also a community that you can join just if you want to take those steps towards. It's just putting that rein on it like we talked about. So you can do it one of two ways. You can take it yourself and learn to become your family CEO, or you can jump right into the co-CEO role and reach out to us and schedule a possible call.
And then for people who want to do it on their own, what licenses or trainings do they need to get?
Yeah. So I always encourage starting with the insurance license. One, it's not as overwhelming. Like, it's very specific. Life insurance, you're learning those different products. But then once you get from there, the Series 65 is a major door opener. It gives you the license to give investment advice, but the information that you learn in there is like what you need to pull it all together. And then that license opens doors that only financial professionals can go into. Mm-hmm. now that you have that license, now you may be able to find suitable investments. You may be able to understand all the different planning components. You may be able to communicate with all the different professionals and coordinate them at a higher level. So that license, those 2 licenses alone can get you really, really far.
I just hear people be like, but I already have so many hats. Like, I'm, as an entrepreneur, already wearing so many hats. That seems really, really, really overwhelming. So I love that you've built out a tool for them to utilize to be a co-CEO. I'm just like,
we know, yeah, no, scrap that. How can you do this for me? Because I already have a million things going on my plate.
Yes, exactly. 100%. 100%. And then just one more time, like, share the resource. Like, how can they work with you, schedule time with you?
Yeah, I am LaVaisha Davis on all social media platforms. Instagram, Facebook, Threads, LinkedIn. There's links in each one of those bios as well. But you can also go to LaVaishaDavis.com and outline some of the things we talked about today about fragmented planning and pull it all together. Or if you want to join a community of like-minded individuals who's wanting to take on that CEO role of their family to help create multi-generational wealth, you can go to mywealthandlegacy.com, join the community, download the free ebook to wrap your mind around being a CEO, and we can grow together.
I love that, LaVaisha. I've learned so much. I really appreciate spending time with you, and it just get you to think a different kind of way of what wealth is and how to incorporate that and to keep generating those dollars within our families, which is something that I feel like is strongly lacking in our communities. So I appreciate you exposing people to that, because knowledge is power, and a lot of people just don't know what they don't know. And now they know that they not only have access to it, but also have the resources to do that. So I appreciate you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you again for having me, Naseema. It was great.
Of course.